They were alone and bleeding, stranded on a deserted road with no hope in sight. Then, out of the darkness, a stranger walked. A 10-year-old boy named Marcus, whose single act of kindness would save their lives and spark a movement that challenged the world's biases, proving that compassion can rewrite destinies. The sun was setting as Marcus, a 10-year-old black boy, walked home from school. The heat from the day's sun still lingered, but the roads were quiet, shrouded in the eerie stillness of dusk. His steps echoed as he walked down the long, dusty stretch of road on the outskirts of town, far from the nearest house. The path felt empty, as though the world around him had slowed to a hush. The sound of his shoes hitting the dirt was the only noise that filled the air. Marcus hummed softly to himself, lost in thought, when something caught his attention. Ahead, a few yards in front of him, he noticed an overturned car, its metal glinting faintly in the fading light. A woman lay next to it, barely conscious, her body bruised, blood trickling from her forehead. Her baby, still clutched in her arms, let out soft, desperate cries that pierced the silence of the road. Marcus stopped in his tracks, his heart racing. The scene was haunting. Alone and bleeding, they were at the mercy of the desolate road. He looked around, but there was no one else in sight, no passing cars, no signs of life. The weight of the moment settled on him like a heavy blanket. Without thinking, Marcus started running toward the scene, the darkness of the evening closing in around him. His eyes focused on the woman first, her face pale, her breathing shallow. Her baby's cries grew louder, a frantic plea for help. There was no time to waste. He knelt beside her, his small hands trembling as he reached for the baby. "Hey there," he whispered softly, his voice a beacon of calm in the chaos, trying to soothe the child. He glanced back at the woman, realizing she was still alive but fading fast. He knew he had to act quickly. Reaching into his school bag, Marcus pulled out his phone, his fingers fumbling as he unlocked it with shaking hands. The screen flashed, showing a weak signal, but it was enough. He punched in the emergency number, his voice steady as he spoke. "Please help. There's a woman hurt on the side of the road, and her baby's with her." He gave the location, his words clear despite the pounding in his chest. "Please hurry." After hanging up, Marcus looked at the woman again. His instincts told him to stay with her, to keep her conscious, to reassure her that help was on the way. As the baby continued to cry, Marcus made a decision. He gently rocked the child in his arms, humming a little tune, just like his mom used to do when he was upset. The baby's cries softened, and Marcus felt a strange sense of pride wash over him for being there, for doing something when no one else could. The road remained desolate, the darkness deepening, but Marcus stayed calm. Every minute felt like an eternity, the weight of responsibility pressing on his young shoulders. He watched the baby's face, its fragile features tugging at his heart. The sound of sirens finally broke the silence, growing louder as a rescue vehicle rounded the bend. Marcus stood, his heart lifting, as help arrived. 2 paramedics rushed over, their hands busy as they assessed the woman's condition. One took the baby from Marcus, who stepped back, his chest swelling with relief. As the paramedics loaded the woman into the ambulance, the baby safely in their arms, Marcus watched quietly. The sirens faded as the ambulance sped off, and the dust settled on the road once again. But Marcus felt something new inside, a sense of pride, of responsibility. He hadn't hesitated when faced with the chance to help. He didn't care about anything but making sure they were okay. His act of kindness, so simple yet profound, had changed everything in his life. Marcus lived in a modest home with his single mother. His father had passed away when he was a toddler, leaving his mother to raise him alone. Despite the hardships they faced, Marcus had always been a responsible child. He took pride in helping his mother with chores, taking on responsibilities beyond his years to ease her burden. He knew what it was like to struggle, but he never allowed that struggle to define him. Instead, he focused on what he could do, helping others, looking out for his neighbors, and maintaining a positive attitude. Though Marcus's heart was pure, the world around him wasn't always kind. He faced prejudice daily, a quiet reminder of the injustices that still lingered in society. His skin color often made him the subject of judgment from people who didn't know him. Yet Marcus carried himself with dignity, holding his head high, ignoring the whispers and sideways glances, finding strength in the love and support of his mother. On most days, Marcus walked home from school along this quiet, isolated road. It was a route he knew well, one that led through the outskirts of town, away from the hustle and bustle of the busy streets. The road was long and empty, the silence only broken by the occasional rustle of the wind through the trees. He didn't mind the walk. In fact, he liked the solitude. It gave him time to think, to reflect on his day, and to plan for the future. He dreamed of becoming a scientist one day, determined to change the world despite the obstacles in his way. But today was different. Today, the quiet road that Marcus walked down had taken him to a meeting with fate, an encounter that would change the course of his life forever. The woman Marcus encountered, Claire Stevens, was someone completely different from the people he usually came across on his walks. She was a successful CEO, accustomed to the high-stakes world of business. Her life had been filled with meetings, negotiations, and the pressures of running a multi-million-dollar company. The world she navigated was one of privilege and power, a world far removed from Marcus's own. She was used to being in control, accustomed to getting what she needed with a snap of her fingers. That day, however, her life had taken an unexpected turn. Her car, which had been smoothly driving along the road, suddenly broke down. She tried calling for help, but her phone lost signal. Frustrated, she waited for assistance, but as the minutes dragged on, the heat of the day made her feel even more helpless. She glanced at the few passing vehicles, but none stopped. In her desperation, she tried to start the car again, but her attempts failed, and the car slid off the road, crashing into the embankment. The impact threw Claire against the side of the door, and she felt a sharp pain radiating through her body. Dazed and disoriented, she realized she was alone, stranded in the middle of nowhere with her baby, with no one to help. As she lay by the car, clutching her side, she feared for her life and her child's. Her usual confidence and control meant nothing in that moment. No amount of wealth or status could change her situation. She needed help, but who would come? It was in this moment of helplessness that Marcus walked out of the darkness, a stranger whose compassion would alter her life forever. As Marcus approached the scene, the overturned car loomed like a shadow against the twilight. His heart raced as he rushed toward the vehicle, his instincts taking over. When he reached the car and saw Claire inside, bleeding and clutching her crying baby, he didn't hesitate. Despite the wide gap between them in terms of their worlds, Marcus didn't stop to consider her wealth, her status, or her race. All he saw was a woman and her child in need, and that was enough for him. With swift and steady hands, Marcus carefully helped her out of the car, making sure she was steady on her feet. Claire, though in pain and still stunned, looked at Marcus in disbelief. Here she was, a wealthy businesswoman saved by a young black boy. She had never imagined that someone like him would be the one to come to her rescue. For Marcus, it wasn't about who she was or where she came from. It was simply about doing the right thing, helping someone in need. It wasn't a thought process. It was instinct. Claire, struggling to comprehend the situation, leaned on Marcus for support. For the first time in a long while, she was forced to rely on someone she would never have expected. A boy from a world entirely different from hers. As they waited for the paramedics to arrive, she found herself questioning her past assumptions about people like Marcus. Her mind raced to process the life-changing realization that she had been blind to the humanity of others. In this brief moment, her entire worldview shifted. Marcus's heart raced as he knelt by Claire's side, checking her pulse, gently tapping her hand. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice filled with a mixture of worry and urgency. Claire's eyes fluttered open for a moment, her gaze blurry and weak. "Help, please," she murmured, barely able to speak. The baby's cries grew louder, piercing the air and heightening the urgency in Marcus's chest. Without missing a beat, Marcus gently picked up the baby, rocking him softly to soothe him. As the infant's sobs subsided, Marcus turned back to Claire, lifting her head carefully to assess her injuries. The blood trickling down her face was more than a minor cut. It was serious, and he needed to act fast. The broken glass surrounding them added to the dangerous scene, shards reflecting the faint sunlight like scattered weapons. Marcus knew he had to move quickly before the situation escalated further. Despite his fear and lack of experience, he had no time to waste. With Claire still groaning in pain, Marcus's mind raced for a solution. He scanned the area, looking for help, but the road was still desolate, not a soul in sight. He checked Claire again, making sure she was still breathing. With a deep breath, Marcus grabbed his jacket, tearing off a sleeve to create a makeshift bandage. He gently tied it around her head, pressing to stop the bleeding as best he could. The baby, still in his arms, had stopped crying, but Marcus could feel the tension in his little body. His face looked so fragile, his eyes wide and vulnerable. Marcus gave him a reassuring smile, even though his own stomach was in knots. He had to focus for both of them. Without further hesitation, Marcus began walking toward the nearest gas station, hoping beyond hope that someone would be there to help. As he walked, he continued to rock the baby and tried his best to keep Claire calm. The road ahead was long and uncertain, the darkness now fully enveloping the landscape, but Marcus's focus never wavered. He waved down a passing car, desperate for any kind of help. The car slowed but didn't stop. His heart sank for a moment, but Marcus quickly gathered himself. This was his responsibility, and no one was going to come to his aid. He had to do it alone. So he continued walking, his pace quickened, driven by the urgency of the situation. Each step felt heavier, each moment a reminder of the weight of the world on his young shoulders. But through it all, he kept moving forward, determined to get to the gas station. He knew that the sooner he got help, the sooner Claire and her child would be safe. As Marcus walked, he didn't think about how scared he was. He didn't think about how unbelievable this situation was for someone his age. He didn't think about how people would later react to him. All he thought about was one thing: helping. And that was all that mattered. This wasn't just a young boy going out of his way. This was a boy showing what true kindness, bravery, and responsibility looked like, something beyond his years. He wasn't concerned about any of the things people might expect from someone his age or his race. Marcus simply did what needed to be done, without question, without hesitation. His actions weren't just heroic, they were a testament to the strength of his character. With every step, Marcus carried not only Claire and her baby, but the hope of a future where compassion and bravery rise above all else. As Marcus stood at the gas station, the reality of the situation began to settle in. His heart still raced as he explained the situation to the 911 dispatcher, his words calm, his voice steady, but underneath, the adrenaline was still coursing through his veins. Claire Stevens was in serious condition, but Marcus knew that the ambulance would get there in time. It had to. The dispatcher reassured him that help was on the way, and as soon as the paramedics arrived, they immediately took over, rushing Claire to the hospital. Marcus felt a sense of relief wash over him as the professionals took charge. He had done his part, and now he could finally breathe. As the paramedics worked, Marcus stood off to the side, his mind still racing. The baby, now safely in the arms of a store clerk, was no longer crying, his tiny hand curled around a comforting blanket. Marcus took a moment to gather himself. The stress, the fear, the urgency, it all felt so overwhelming. He'd been just a kid trying to help, trying to do the right thing, and now he'd saved a life. The next day, Marcus went about his life as usual, helping his mother with chores, going to school, doing what any 10-year-old boy would do. But what he didn't expect was a phone call that would change everything. The phone rang while Marcus was doing his homework, and when he picked it up, he heard a voice he didn't recognize. "Is this Marcus?" the woman asked. He nodded before remembering she couldn't see him. "Yes, this is Marcus." "Hi, Marcus. This is Claire Stevens. I just wanted to personally thank you for what you did for me and my baby yesterday. You saved our lives, and I'm forever grateful." Marcus froze. He recognized the name, but didn't know why Claire Stevens would be calling him. He had just helped a stranger, and he never imagined anything would come of it. He stammered, trying to find the right words. I was just doing what I thought was right." "I know, Marcus, and that's exactly
why I'm calling. You have an incredible heart, and your actions are exactly what this world needs. I'd like to offer you something. I want to help you the way you helped me. I'm offering you a scholarship to a prestigious school in the city, along with training in leadership programs and mentorship for your future. I want to make sure you have the opportunities you deserve." Marcus sat down, his mouth agape, his heart beating faster. A scholarship? Leadership programs? Mentorship? It was all so surreal. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had never thought something like this would happen to him, let alone someone offering him such an incredible opportunity. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. This is too much." "You've earned it," Claire said. "I've been through a lot in my life, and I know how much it can mean to have someone believe in you when no one else does. You've shown me something rare, Marcus, and I want to make sure you have every chance to succeed." Marcus couldn't believe it. A chance at a different future, a life that seemed so far out of reach just a day ago, was now within his grasp. He had never even dreamed of something like this, but now it was real. Over the next few days, Marcus met with Claire and the team at the scholarship organization. They discussed his interests, his dreams, and what he hoped to achieve in the future. He quickly realized that this wasn't just a handout. This was a chance to work hard, to learn, and to build the future he had always wanted, but never thought he could have.
Claire's offer didn't just change Marcus's life, it changed his entire outlook on what was possible. A simple act of kindness had led to an opportunity that would transform his life in ways he never imagined. It wasn't just the scholarship or the mentorship. It was the belief in him that Claire had shown, believing in his potential when no one else had. The impact of Marcus's actions reverberated through the community as word spread. His story became one of inspiration, a reminder that a single act of selflessness can change everything, even the trajectory of a young boy's life. Marcus may have been just a child, but in that moment, he had become a symbol of hope, of resilience, and of what is possible when someone dares to do what's right, no matter the odds. As Marcus's life began to shift, the world around him started to take notice. His mother, who had always worked tirelessly to give her son a better life, was stunned by the turn of events. Marcus had always been a hard-working boy, but never in his wildest dreams did he imagine an opportunity like this. The scholarship, mentorship, and leadership programs Claire had offered seemed like a distant fantasy just days before. Now they were his reality. For Marcus, it wasn't just the scholarship that changed everything. It was the chance to step out of the shadows and into the light of possibility. As he walked through the halls of his new school, a prestigious institution, he could hardly believe it. The other students, most of whom came from affluent families, looked at him with curiosity. But Marcus didn't let it faze him. He had something none of them had, the relentless determination to prove that he belonged, no matter where he came from. Meanwhile, Claire found herself constantly reflecting on the impact of Marcus's actions. She had come from a world where wealth and success defined people's worth. She had always seen herself as someone who made a difference in the corporate world. But her encounter with Marcus changed the lens through which she viewed life. The boy she had once overlooked, assumed he would never have the potential for success, had shown her the true meaning of resilience and humanity. Claire also began to work harder on breaking down the biases that had clouded her judgment for years. She realized that she had, for so long, assumed that people from backgrounds like Marcus's couldn't make a significant impact, especially without the same resources she had. But Marcus's life and his strength to overcome the odds had proven that true success wasn't determined by money, status, or race. It was defined by the inner drive to rise above adversity. Her commitment to Marcus's growth became a personal mission, and she threw herself into mentoring him. She made sure he had access to everything she could offer, a network of professionals, opportunities for leadership programs, and the skills necessary to succeed in a world that often underestimated him. Claire made it clear to Marcus that she wasn't just giving him a chance. She was opening doors for him to kick down, to make space for others like him to enter. Marcus took the challenge head-on. He excelled in his new school, consistently surprising his teachers with his sharp mind and keen interest in social justice and equality. His story became an inspiration to his peers, and he quickly grew into a natural leader, someone who believed in lifting others as he climbed. His journey wasn't just about his academic success. It was about proving that anyone, no matter their background, had the power to change their circumstances if they were given the opportunity. The ripple effect of Marcus's success reached far beyond his own life. Claire's involvement with him sparked a larger movement within the business world. She began to advocate for more inclusivity and diversity in the corporate sector, recognizing the power of investing in people from underrepresented communities. She spoke at conferences, encouraging business leaders to consider talent from diverse backgrounds and to give opportunities to those who had the potential but lacked the platform. Other companies, inspired by Claire's work with Marcus, started to focus on equity in ways they hadn't before. They began developing mentorship programs, offering scholarships to marginalized youth, and taking action against systemic inequalities in their hiring practices. Slowly but surely, the ripple effect grew, and the business world started to look at people like Marcus with new eyes. As Marcus's story spread through the media, more people became aware of the power of giving others a chance. Marcus was no longer just a young black boy from a poor neighborhood. He was a symbol of how one person's act of kindness can change the course of someone else's life. The people around him, Claire especially, learned that true success comes not from what you have, but from what you give to others, and the impact you make on the world around you. For Marcus, it was just the beginning. The future, once uncertain and clouded by prejudice, was now wide open with possibilities. He had been given the resources to succeed, and he planned to use them to make sure others had the same opportunities. His story was one of transformation, not just for him, but for the people who had underestimated him and the world that had ignored his potential. In the end, Marcus didn't just change his life. He changed the lives of countless others, showing them that with the right support, anyone could rise above their circumstances and achieve greatness. His journey had become a testament to the power of inclusion, mentorship, and the belief that success belongs to those who dare to dream, no matter where they start. Marcus had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The young boy who once faced prejudice, lack of opportunity, and a future clouded with uncertainty had now become a beacon of hope and inspiration. His hard work, coupled with the support of those who saw his potential, had propelled him into a leadership role within his community and school. As a successful young leader, Marcus took every opportunity to speak out about the power of kindness, mentorship, and support. He often visited schools to share his story, teaching younger generations how one small act of kindness could change the trajectory of a person's life. His message was simple: never underestimate someone's potential, because the future is often shaped by moments when others take the time to believe in you. Marcus returned to his neighborhood, the place where it all began, to offer his resources and support. He made sure that other children who had faced similar struggles had access to the same opportunities he had been given. It wasn't just about being successful for his own sake. It was about breaking down the barriers that kept people from realizing their own worth. He used his new position and influence to open doors for others, funding scholarships and organizing mentorship programs for those who lacked the means to succeed on their own. He was determined to turn the difficulties he had faced into an opportunity for everyone around him. In his community, Marcus became a role model, someone who had risen above the odds and proven that success could come from the most unlikely of places. It wasn't just about wealth or status. His strength came from his character, and now people admired him for it. Walking through the halls of his new school, Marcus felt the weight of everything he had overcome. He had earned his place in a world that often overlooked people like him. The whispers and stares of doubt were now replaced with admiration and respect. His classmates, once indifferent or dismissive of his abilities, now looked to him as a leader, as someone who had shown them the power of resilience. Claire Stevens, who had played such a crucial role in Marcus's journey, walked beside him. Together, they continued to build a future of opportunity for others, ensuring that those who came after Marcus would have the resources and encouragement they needed to rise. She saw in him a future not just as a successful businessman, but as someone who would change the fabric of society through his leadership and compassion. Their partnership was more than just mentor and mentee. It was a true collaboration, one grounded in the belief that no one should be held back because of their circumstances. Marcus had not only transformed his own life, but was also shaping the future for everyone who had ever been dismissed, ignored, or underestimated. As he walked with Claire, he looked ahead at the life he was now building, a life of service, opportunity, and equality for all. The future was no longer an uncertain place, but a landscape of infinite possibility. The last chapter of his story had yet to be written, but it was clear that the best was yet to come. He had the power to shape not just his destiny, but the destinies of countless others, and he was determined to do just that. He had learned the invaluable lesson that sometimes a single act of kindness doesn't just change one life, it can transform an entire future. As he passed by a group of students, he smiled, knowing that his journey had only just begun. His mission was clear: to continue paying forward the kindness that had changed his life, and to ensure that future generations would never have to fight the same battles he had. They were alone and bleeding, but Marcus, a stranger who walked out of the darkness, brought them light. His courage didn't just save Claire and her baby. It ignited a movement for inclusion and opportunity, proving that one act of kindness can ripple through the world, changing lives and futures forever.